Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see, but few can feel. Machiavelli understood something most people spend their entire lives avoiding. Confidence is not a feeling you wait for. It is a posture you adopt, a system you build, and a reputation you engineer. The world does not reward the quietly capable. It rewards those who appear unshakable, even when doubt whispers in the background. Most people mistake confidence for arrogance, or worse, they believe it must be earned through endless validation from others. They wait for permission to believe in themselves, for someone to hand them certainty, for the world to finally recognize their worth. But Machiavelli knew that power, respect, and influence are not given. They are taken through calculated presentation, strategic action, and the refusal to flinch in the face of judgment. Dangerously confident people are not reckless. They are precise. They understand that the appearance of certainty creates actual opportunity, that perception shapes reality, and that the world bends toward those who act as if they have already won. This doesn't apply to all men or all women, and it isn't a moral judgment. It's a pattern created and amplified by modern social systems that reward visibility, boldness, and the ability to project value before it is verified. Most people are paralyzed by the need to feel ready, to be perfect, to eliminate all risk before they move. But confidence is not the absence of fear, it is the decision to act despite it. It is the recognition that waiting for certainty is the same as choosing invisibility. The 8 lessons that follow are not about becoming someone else. They are about stripping away the conditioning that keeps you small, reactive, and dependent on external validation. They are about understanding the mechanics of perception, the psychology of power, and the cold reality that the world does not care how you feel, it only cares what you do. The first ruthless lesson is this: explanation is the language of the insecure, and the more you justify your decisions, the more you invite others to question them. Machiavelli observed that leaders who constantly defend their choices are perceived as uncertain, weak, and open to manipulation. When you explain yourself excessively, you signal that your actions require approval, that your judgment is negotiable, and that your confidence is conditional. The world interprets this as doubt, and doubt is blood in the water. Confident people do not over-explain, not because they are hiding something, but because they understand that justification dilutes authority. They state their position clearly, act decisively, and allow their results to speak. This does not mean you never provide context or reasoning. It means you do not beg for understanding or permission. There is a profound difference between offering clarity and seeking validation. The former is a gift. The latter is a plea. Most people have been conditioned to believe that being agreeable, accommodating, and endlessly transparent is the path to being liked and respected. But respect is not built on agreeability. It is built on clarity, consistency, and the willingness to let others be uncomfortable with your choices. When you stop explaining, you stop handing others the tools to dismantle your confidence. You stop outsourcing your self-worth to their judgment. You stop teaching them that your decisions are up for debate. This does not make you cold or arrogant. It makes you grounded. It signals that you trust your own judgment more than you fear their disapproval. Machiavelli understood that perception is reality, and the moment you begin justifying yourself defensively, you lose the frame. You become the one seeking approval rather than the one granting it. Dangerously confident people do not wait for consensus. They act, adjust if necessary, and move forward without apology. They understand that the world will question you no matter what you do, so you might as well act with conviction and let your results validate your choices after the fact, not your explanations beforehand. Machiavelli wrote, "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally, and part of that wisdom is knowing when not to speak." Strategic silence is one of the most underestimated tools of confidence, yet most people fill every gap with noise because they mistake silence for weakness. They feel compelled to respond immediately, to defend their position, to prove they are present and engaged. But silence is not absence, it is presence under control. It is the refusal to be baited, the discipline to withhold reaction, and the intelligence to let others reveal themselves while you observe. When you speak less, your words carry more weight. When you pause before responding, you signal that you are not reactive, that you think before you act, and that you do not need to fill space to feel secure. This creates an aura of authority that words alone cannot build. People project power, mystery, and competence onto those who are comfortable with silence, while those who constantly explain, interrupt, or overshare are dismissed as anxious or insecure. The modern world amplifies this. Social media, texting, and constant connectivity have created a culture where silence is interpreted as disengagement, disinterest, or defeat. But this is precisely why strategic silence is so effective. It stands out. It forces others to come to you, to wonder what you are thinking, to respect your space. Machiavelli understood that power is not always loud. Often, it is the quiet refusal to react that commands the room. When someone insults you and you do not flinch, they lose leverage. When someone tries to provoke you and you remain calm, they reveal their desperation. When you choose not to engage in every argument, every debate, every emotional trap, you preserve your energy and elevate your position. Silence is not passivity, it is selection. It is the recognition that not every comment deserves a response, not every provocation deserves your attention, and not every conversation deserves your participation. Dangerously confident people understand this instinctively. They speak when it matters, they withhold when it serves them, and they never mistake noise for influence. Machiavelli knew that emotion is a weapon, and those who cannot control theirs hand that weapon to their enemies. Dangerously confident people do not suppress their emotions. They regulate them, channel them, and display them only when it serves a strategic purpose. The world does not reward emotional transparency, it rewards emotional discipline. When you react impulsively, you signal that others can control you, that your state can be manipulated, and that you are governed by your feelings rather than your judgment. This is why the most effective leaders, negotiators, and influencers maintain composure under pressure, not because they do not feel, but because they refuse to let their feelings dictate their behavior. Emotional control is not about being cold or detached. It is about being deliberate. It is the ability to feel anger without lashing out, to feel fear without freezing, to feel excitement without losing focus. It is the recognition that your emotional state is your responsibility, not the world's, and that blaming external circumstances for your reactions is the language of the powerless. Most people live in reactive mode, bouncing between emotional highs and lows, allowing their environment to dictate their internal state. They are happy when things go well, devastated when they do not, and entirely dependent on external validation to feel stable. But confidence is not the absence of emotion, it is the mastery of it. It is the ability to stay grounded when chaos erupts, to remain calm when provoked, and to project certainty even when you feel uncertain. Machiavelli observed that rulers who displayed too much emotion were either loved naively or exploited ruthlessly, while those who controlled their displays were respected and feared. The same applies today. When you control your emotional expression, you control the narrative. You decide when to show vulnerability and when to project strength. You dictate the frame rather than reacting within someone else's. This does not mean you become robotic or inhuman. It means you become intentional, strategic, and difficult to manipulate. Machiavelli understood that the world judges outcomes, not effort, and that the process of building competence is neither glamorous nor respected until it produces undeniable results. Most people make the mistake of announcing their goals, sharing their progress, and seeking validation at every stage of development. They post about their plans, talk about their intentions, and expect applause for effort. But effort without results is noise, and the world does not care how hard you worked, it cares what you accomplished. Dangerously confident people build in silence. They do not announce their goals because they know that premature disclosure invites doubt, skepticism, and sabotage. They do not seek validation for their process because they understand that the work itself is the reward and that external approval is a distraction from execution. They focus on competence, skill, and mastery, and they reveal their progress only when it is undeniable. This is not secrecy for the sake of mystery, it is strategic focus. When you talk about your goals, you release psychological tension, you satisfy the need for validation prematurely, and you weaken your drive to execute. Studies show that people who announce their intentions are less likely to follow through because they experience the social reward before doing the work. But those who build quietly, who refine their craft in the background, who avoid the temptation to perform their progress, they emerge with results that speak louder than any announcement ever could. Machiavelli knew that power is most effective when it appears sudden, inevitable, and absolute. The leader who rises slowly and visibly is questioned at every step. The leader who rises quietly and decisively commands immediate respect. The same applies to personal confidence. When you build competence in secret and reveal results in public, you create an aura of inevitability. You show the world that you are not seeking permission, that you do not need their validation, and that you are driven by internal standards, not external approval. This is the confidence of someone who has done the work, who knows their value, and who does not need to convince anyone of it. Machiavelli advised that a prince must learn to be other than good, meaning that survival and respect require the flexibility to adapt tactics while maintaining core principles. Dangerously confident people understand this balance. They are strategic in their conflicts, but immovable in their values. They do not fight every battle because they know that energy is finite, attention is a resource, and not every provocation deserves a response. But they never compromise who they are, what they stand for, or the standards they hold themselves to. Most people make one of two mistakes. They either fight every battle and burn out, or they avoid all conflict and lose their identity. The former exhausts themselves defending every slight, every insult, every disagreement, and they become reactive, scattered, and ineffective. The latter compromises endlessly, bends to every pressure, and wakes up one day unrecognizable, having traded their principles for temporary peace. The path of dangerous confidence is neither. It is the ability to discern what matters and what does not, to walk away from meaningless fights without guilt, and to stand firm on the issues that define you. This requires brutal honesty with yourself. You must know what you value, what you will tolerate, and what you will not. Without this clarity, you will be pulled in every direction, reacting to the loudest voice, the strongest pressure, the most recent demand. Machiavelli understood that leaders who defended everything defended nothing, and that the appearance of flexibility without core conviction led to contempt. The same is true for individuals. When you fight every battle, you signal insecurity, fragility, and a lack of discernment. When you fight no battles, you signal weakness, passivity, and a willingness to be walked over. But when you choose your battles strategically and defend your identity fiercely, you signal strength, clarity, and self-respect. You show the world that you are not reactive, not rigid, but grounded. You act from principle, not impulse, and that makes you both adaptable and unbreakable. Machiavelli's final lesson is not about manipulation. It is about self-authorship, the recognition that confidence is not bestowed, it is built, and that the world will never hand you permission to be powerful. For men, the path forward is clear. Stop waiting for external validation to feel worthy. Stop outsourcing your confidence to career success, romantic approval, or social status, and start building internal standards that are independent of the world's judgment. This means developing competence in areas that matter to you, setting boundaries without guilt, embracing discomfort as the price of growth, and understanding that respect is not given to those who seek it, it is given to those who embody it. It means recognizing that silence, discipline, and strategic action will always outperform performative effort, and that the world rewards those who act as if they have already won, not those who wait for permission to begin. For women, the path is equally grounded. Stop conflating confidence with aggression, stop apologizing for taking up space, and start recognizing that self-assurance is not the absence of femininity. It is the presence of self-knowledge. This means trusting your judgment without needing consensus, setting standards without fearing being labeled difficult, and understanding that the world will respect you more when you respect yourself first. It means recognizing that you do not need to be liked by everyone to be effective, that clarity and boundaries are forms of self-care, and that the discomfort others feel with your confidence is not your responsibility to manage. Both paths require the same core shift, moving from reactive to intentional, from approval-seeking to self-directed, from fragile to grounded. Machiavelli's lessons are not about becoming ruthless toward others. They are about becoming unshakable within yourself. They are about understanding that the world is not fair, that perception shapes reality, and that confidence is not a birthright, it is a discipline. The trap is believing you need to feel confident before you act. The truth is, you act, and confidence follows. You build it through repetition, through honoring your word to yourself, through choosing discomfort over stagnation. The way out is not waiting. It is doing, failing, adjusting, and doing again until the world has no choice but to recognize what you already know. You are not asking for a seat at the table. You are building your own.